Got more new stuff from the Battlefield 6 build that I played a couple days ago. This thing here is called the X9E Breacher. This is a gadget for the Assault class. This is a handheld launcher that fires breaching rounds which attach and after a short delay penetrate most destructible surfaces, and when they go through the surface they're going to deliver a blinding explosion on the other side. If the breaching round hits an enemy soldier, it will cause limited impact damage before triggering the same blinding explosion. As you can see here, I did test this a little bit. I wasn't able to actually flash myself with it, so it might be that if you're the one using it you're immune to it, but this could be really powerful if you're going to enter a room. You just pop that into a wall, it flashes the other side and you go in there. With the sledgehammer being so amazing in the build of the game that I played, a lot of people were asking, well, why would you want to pick any other melee weapon? Well, it looks like there's three options to begin with here, but they actually have different stats. So the sledgehammer, as you can see here, has a hit delay of 200 milliseconds and damage of 45. So it's going to hit a bit harder, but you won't be able to swing it as fast. The combat knife, on the other hand, actually increases your sprint speed. And you can notice the difference. I'll put some footage on the screen now. When you're running with a sledgehammer, it definitely feels a lot slower. But the hit delay is 100 millisecond and the damage is only 35. And then with the hunting knife here, this is the Bighorn HK16, a personal knife carried by SSG Simone Gecko Espina. And this is one of the characters in the single player campaign. In the credits, you can see that name come up. Designed for fast attacks, striking enemies from the back or while they're prone will initiate a lethal takedown, increases sprint speed when equipped, and it's got the same stats as the combat knife. So I imagine that at launch we will actually see more melee weapons than this, and they might introduce more categories down the line with different stats. So sledgehammer is going to be really good for demolition, but the knives are going to be good for maneuverability, like if you're crossing long distances in Conquest or running around in BR. There is a critical mission success timer that pops up in Conquest if one team captures all of the flags. As you can see here, this happened in one of my games in the capture event. If this comes up and the losing team doesn't capture a flag within 30 seconds, then the round will end. I assume that's what happens in this particular example. The enemy team captured a couple of flags back and the timer went away. This looks like a similar system to the nuke that they had in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 19 in the ground war mode if one team was completely dominating. Now in this particular round, I looked at how long it was before this came up. This was 4 minutes and 13 seconds into the round, which I think is a bit too quick. For the game to potentially end this soon into a match, I don't really agree with that at all, and it doesn't give the other team any opportunity of a comeback really. I mean, look at the tickets at the top. The game had barely started, like I said, 4 minutes 13 seconds. So I think perhaps DICE need to look at this before they implement it in its current form. I get that if the game's going to be a complete walkover, some people might prefer to just, yeah, let's end it and get a new one. But with how quickly this happened, I don't agree with that. Maybe this mechanic shouldn't kick in until a certain amount of time or tickets has elapsed. There are class-specific grenades in the game. I don't think I've seen many people talk about this because I don't think that many people actually know about it. So every class gets the frag grenade, which I think we would come to expect. But the assault class are the only ones that can have the stun grenade. This produces a concussive blast that disorients enemies, temporarily preventing ADS and sprint capabilities. That could go downhill very fast if it's overpowered. I'm not sure about that one. And then the flash grenade. This grenade emits an intense blast that temporarily blinds nearby enemies. Impairment scales with proximity and line of sight to the blast. And you can see here you've got the little class icon which says, hey, this is only for the assault class. The engineers, they get the frag. They also get the AV grenade, anti-vehicle grenade. A grenade primarily for use against vehicles, but will inflict damage on enemies caught in the blast. When thrown, it follows the trajectory of a typical grenade before releasing a parachute and dropping rapidly for a top attack. That's pretty cool. I did throw this at one point. I'll see if I can find the footage, but I kind of turned away so I didn't see the little parachute, but I imagine it's kind of cute. And then the other engineer-specific grenade is the mini grenade V40. These have been in previous games before. A compact grenade that can be thrown further than the standard frag, but at the cost of less damage. Reduced weight means more can be carried. I think from memory you could have 3 of them. The support class, frag, and then they get the smoke. So smokes are only on support. That's a pretty big deal. And it says here, blocks ability to spot targets and clear spotted markers from all infantry inside the smoke radius. So you could actually throw this on your own team if you think that they've all been spotted and they're about to do a flank or something. It might be very useful actually in certain scenarios. And then the incendiary grenade for the support class produces a brief blast radius of intense heat. Affected enemies will continue to burn for a short duration. Fire damage can be reduced by going prone. I think we had that in BF1 as well, didn't we, from memory. And finally for Recon, they get the frags of course, and their class specific grenades are the proximity detector. These are the little pokeballs that you throw out. Scans for enemies once per second within visible range of the device. Detected enemies will be spotted, marking their position in world and on the minimap for a duration of 2 seconds. These were really good for farming intel ribbons in the past. And then the final grenade, I suppose it's not really a grenade though, is it, that the Recon gets, is the throwing knife. A lightweight balanced blade that will fly in a small arc to the target. Headshots deliver instant kills, while non-fatal strikes delay health regeneration for 10 seconds. So maybe you can only get a one-hit kill on someone who's full health with a headshot with that. Interesting. They've got rid of the green circle that appeared in the environment on the support crate. So you remember how it looked in the beta? You throw it down and there was like a green ring around it. I think it was animated too. That's gone now. So there's just nothing, but you can see the icon of the support bag. So you know that it's there if you need to go and get health and ammo. Here's a little look at the Recon drone. Now with a limited battery life, apart from that, very similar to the drone in BF2042. It's got thermal mode. It's got regular vision mode. It also has an EMP and you can use that to destroy certain enemy equipment. If you're lucky enough to find an enemy player on a mortar, you can actually zap them with this and get a kill for it. And if you leave it in the air like I did here, it will passively spot things for you. As you can see, I'm spotting enemies and getting points for it, even though I'm not controlling the drone at all. Here's a look at some of the customization options for the attack helicopters. So we've got aim guided, light, and heavy as the primary selection there. On the secondary, you can choose between anti-air and aim guided. This one in the upgrade slot was very interesting though, and quite impactful. Heavy warheads increases the blast radius lethality of primary weapon payloads as well as ammo capacity, diminishes aircraft maneuverability. So you get more firepower, but maybe it handles a bit clunkier. And yes, this really did make a big difference. So you could easily destroy vehicles with this package. As for the jets, unfortunately, they didn't have any equipment or weapon customization in this build of the game. They were set up in a predetermined configuration. Maybe that's by design and you won't be able to change the jets. I hope not, because it's fun to customize them a bit. They did have some different skins in there though, and decals, camos that you could apply. This is the fighter jet here, as you can see. Different setup. Both of them were really good though, in my opinion. I think they were quite strong in this build. Next, we're going to look at a couple of new attachments that I found, which I thought were quite interesting. This one's called the match trigger, and I think this was for assault rifles and carbines. The cost of it is 15. So it's not the cheapest, not the most expensive, but the description is as follows. Improves weapon performance in semi-auto, reducing recoil and increasing accuracy. So maybe you could build an insane battle rifle with this particular attachment, almost turning an AR or a carbine into a DMR. I didn't get to use it, unfortunately, so no first-hand experience with that, but might be one to watch. This one here is called the converter and goes in the muzzle slot. Quite fat. Reduces horizontal recoil in favor of more stable vertical recoil. Soldiers firing will be spotted, marking their position in world and on the minimap. That might be a popular choice because stuff that reduces horizontal recoil tends to be, because it's just much harder to control and predict that. There's a new bullet type for the sniper rifles too. It may have been in the DMRs, but I think it was just bolt actions. Match grade. Long range standard penetration ammunition that reduces projectile drag. So if you equip those and then do a particular sniper rifle build, you'd probably end up having the fastest traveling bullets in the game. So if you want minimal amount of drop, that could be the way to go. Could be very popular for battle royale. Anti-glare coating, maybe I showed this in the previous video, but this reduces visible cone of scope glint with an anti-reflective coating. So when you're aiming down the sight, if you want your scope glint to be not as obvious, I would take that. They did tone it down already, so it might be very difficult to spot if you had that on your gun. I'm going to do some tests when the game's out in October. ADS bolt for the snipers too enables rechambering while aiming down sights. That's called the DLC bolt. Quite an expensive one that, but that will be a very popular attachment. I wanted to show you this as well. So I was testing the visibility in the game, and I noticed that when you're running into and out of buildings, they have this beautiful, it is beautiful lighting effect that's trying to simulate real life, I suppose. How your eyes are perceiving different lighting environments and rapid changes. But there are many occasions when you're playing where this actually stops you from seeing people. How do you feel about this? Do you think they should keep this the way it is because it's kind of like it is in real life, or should they tone it down in favor of gameplay? Let me know down in the comments. The mortar has some interesting quirks to it. So if you fire it, you're going to be spotted, marking your own position in world and on the enemy minimap. But also this, I didn't realize this until I was going back through the footage. weapon accuracy increases with continuous shots in the same location. So if you're firing the mortar and you keep hitting the same spot over and over again, that sustained fire will be more accurate with each shot. Support also gets a supply pouch too, which I thought was pretty neat. So lighter option, run and support kind of thing. They were really good in BF4. In terms of number of weapons in the game, there were 41 primaries in total. We had 8 assault rifles, 7 carbines, 8 SMGs, 8 LMGs, 4 DMRs, 3 bolt action rifles, 3 shotguns, so that's the 41 primaries, and then 4 secondaries. So in total, there's 45. And I think this was the launch build of the game, so that might be it, October 10th, but I'm sure it won't be long at all before live service stuff starts and they'll start cramming a load of new guns and gadgets into the game. I think that's a decent amount, and of course you're going to be leveling up, so when you start playing you're not going to have access to all of these, so a million times better than the amount that we had in 2042. Definitely feels a bit light on bolt action rifles and secondaries, but as I said, there'll be plenty more to come over the next few years. They've updated, changed and removed a lot of the signature abilities and perks on the classes too, and this is important stuff because the class that you play should have an impact on the game based on the signature abilities or passives that it has, and also the training path that you choose. So the assault class, the adrenaline injector, this used to give you health, but now they've got rid of the health component of it, and they've done it so you stick it in, it's going to boost your sprint speed and reduce explosive and incendiary damage, and also provide brief resistance to and clears the effects of flash and stun grenades. So if stun grenades get really annoying, might be good to play assault and counter that. You're going to get faster draw times with assault rifles. This is going to be a pretty big deal, I think. And then you'll be quicker at doing objective stuff like capturing objectives, arming, disarming MCOMs, and have quicker cooldown for your in-combat state, allowing squad mates to deploy on you sooner. And now they've got the deploy beacon. Assault's going to be a decent frontline class. As for the 2 training paths at launch, it looks like we've got Breacher, and these level up as you play. So level 0 is extra grenades. Nice perk to have. Level 1 is Agile Shooter, reduced movement speed penalty when firing while moving. Level 3, Unrelenting Reload, 15% faster reload for the incendiary round shotgun and the grenade and breaching projectile launcher. So that's specific to whatever gadgets you have. And then the Rally Squad. This used to be a wall hack ability, and I don't know why they had that in the game. It's gone now. Thank God for that. When you activate your ultimate, let's say, you and your nearby squad members will gain a temporary adrenaline effect. Its effects on you can be extended with kills. So if you're going to go into a fight and you have this available, your squad are around you, pop it, you'll be way more effective. And the second training path is Frontliner. Level 0 is Adrenaline Rush. Squad mates that deploy on you gain the effects of the adrenaline injector for 2 seconds. That's pretty good. Effects also apply to you and squad mates when they spawn on your deploy beacon. Soft landing, reduced impact from falling or jumping from heights. It's going to be popular. Quick recovery, passive health regen triggers 50% faster and provides a 50% improvement on healing. And then the ultimate ability is the same regardless of what path you choose. So Frontliner, it does what it says on the tin. You're going to be up there, you're going to be fighting in and out of fights as quick as possible. Engineers, their signature gadget is of course the repair tool. We all know what that does. And then we get SMG proficiency, which is improved hip fire control when using SMGs. I'm not sure about this one. Depends exactly how much improved hip fire you get, especially when you start tweaking the builds of the weapons. We'll see. And then your trait is mechanized infantry take less explosives damage when near friendly vehicles and prevent them from being occupied by hostiles in the event that all wow, okay. I didn't realize that. So if you're an engineer and you're near a friendly vehicle, the enemy won't be able to get in it. That's new. First training path is called Anti-Armor, and yeah, that's going to specialize in anti-armor. Level 0, extra rockets, increases the amount of rockets carried by 2. Yeah, I'll probably take that one, to be honest. Level 1, 15% faster reload times for launchers. Level 2, devastating impact, damaging enemy vehicles, reduces their repair effectiveness by 50% for 10 seconds. And then the ultimate ability is the thermal overdrive. Repair tool fixes with plus 50% efficiency for 10 seconds. So if you suddenly find yourself in a fight or there's a friendly vehicle that's on its last legs and you have this available, pop it, get that vehicle up to full health as quick as possible. And then the second training path is Combat Engineer. Level 0, Gadget Fortification. Repairing a friendly gadget permanently increases its maximum health. What? I bet that's going to be broken. Overheat control. Heat buildup on gadgets and vehicle weapons is 50% slower. That's good. Vehicle regen. Occupy a vehicle to start regenerating its health. Will activate if above its critical damage state. That's really good. And then the overdrive for the repair tool. Support. Everyone gets the supply bag. So in this game, they combined medic and support into one. Health and ammo from the same bag. You get LMG proficiency, faster transition to aim down sight, and no sprint speed penalty when carrying LMGs. I feel like I did notice this a bit, but not a crazy amount. And then squad supplies. Squad members can interact with you to gain health and ammunition. Great feature. I think it originated in Hardline. Actually, before that, you could say Warfighter. If any of you remember that Medal of Honor game. Pretty sure you could do that in that game with your buddy. Training 1 for support is the Combat Medic. Level 0, drag down soldiers 20% faster and revive them 2.5 seconds quicker. That's really good. Revive Recovery. Reviving down teammates triggers passive health regen. Incoming damage temporarily halts the effect for 1 second. Also very good. Defense Focus. Level 3. Defensive gadgets have a plus 25% resupply rate. And then the GPDIS intercepts 2 more projectiles. That's the trophy system. MP APS tracking duration is extended by 5 seconds. The MP APS, I think that's the bigger one that intercepts missiles, tank shells, and deployable cover takes 10% less damage. And then the ultimate, you basically turn yourself into a health and ammo beacon for 10 seconds, and reviving is also much quicker. And the second one is fire support, logistics expert level 0, faster ammo resupply when using the supply bag. That's good. Explosive resistant, 25% reduction on incoming explosive splash damage while prone or shooting from mounted positions. So good for LMGs. Steady aim, improved weapons control when shooting from mounted positions. Good combination here if you want to be that bipod LMG guy. And then ultimate restock allies again. And then finally Recon, their class gadget is the motion sensor. You plop that down, we know what it does. The old tugs. Sniper rifle proficiency, improved marksmanship skills, including reduced weapon sway, quicker rechambering between shots, and better breath control for steadier aim. So I think in the beta, wasn't it that only Recon could hold their breath? Or at some point, maybe in labs it was like that, but you're going to be better using sniper rifles. How much better? I don't know. Maybe this isn't enough encouragement to use Recon. I like the idea of if the rangefinder is going to be as overpowered and as cheap as it is, maybe only allow Recons to use the rangefinder attachment. And then the aim spot signature trait, looking at hostiles while aiming down sight will spot them, marking their position in world and on the minimap for all team members. Time required to spot is dependent on factors such as movement and zoom level. So they did tone this down in the build that I played too. I noticed it. Passive and active spotting didn't seem anywhere near as crazy as it was in the beta, but we'll have to see what the values are at launch. Training 1 for the sniper is called Sniper. Specialist in long range engagement. Enhanced perception. Improved auto spotting range with 33% increased distance and 10% wider angle of detection from weapon crosshair. Spotting is quicker and lasts 3 seconds longer. Target acquired, inflicting damage on enemies spots them, marking their position in world and on the minimap. That's really strong. Confirm kill. Enemy soldiers you kill with a headshot from a sniper rifle cannot be revived by their teammates. Also very strong. And then the ultimate is a UAV that is called in. You can't pick the location though, so you've got to be on a capture point or at the front line really if you want this to be effective, or you're playing breakthrough, attacking, defending near the front line, and it'll come in. It can be destroyed though. And then the second training option for sniper is Spec Ops. So you might play this if you're running an SMG or an assault rifle, carbine for example. Stealth tactics reduces sounds that you make when crouched or prone. Also applies when performing takedowns on an enemy. If you want to be quieter, you can use that. Gadget awareness. Spot nearby enemy gadgets, marking their position in world and on the minimap. Ability inactive while sprinting. Could be good for avoiding claymores, I suppose. Low profile, going prone clears your in combat state 1.5 seconds faster and reduces your spotted status duration by 33%. So maybe if you're flanking and you get spotted, you go prone, get rid of that mark sooner, continue with your flank. Moving on, I thought this was pretty interesting. This was from an interview with Push Square with Christian Bull. And they are asking a question about how Battlefield 6 is going to combat cheating on console. And they actually talked about the Cronus, which I didn't expect. Christian said, yeah, it's unfortunate that cheating has become a problem within the console space, especially with Cronus Zen machines and everything. So we partnered with PlayStation and both Microsoft in this regard to kind of do detection. We actually have our own level of macro detection and everything. So if players are doing rapid with Javelin on the PC side, that's why we've enabled Secure Boot to help us combat the never-ending cheater problem, and we are aware of the console cheater issue, and we're going to be taking cheating very, very seriously here. And we want to preserve as much of the fair play and competitive integrity that we can, because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that you're having a fair competitive space to play Battlefield in. It's good to see that they're thinking about this stuff and actually working with the first parties, PlayStation and Microsoft, to detect these devices, because the more they can clamp down on that stuff, the better. And I think that's about it for today. Ton of new stuff in there. I hope you enjoyed it. I did see a clip from a leaked Battle Royale playtest, and there is a tower on the map that can be destroyed by taking out 4 supporting pillars, and it completely falls down. Kind of like the tower in Siege of Shanghai. Not as big, but super cool, player controlled. That kind of stuff, it looks like it's in the BR, so pretty cool. Anyways, that's all, guys. If you decide to pick the game up, consider using my code on EA Play JackFrags. I'll get a bit of kickback from that if you do. Drop me a like below, subscribe if you're new, appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.